Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, a name synonymous with music, charisma, and controversy, died under mysterious circumstances that still echo through the corridors of pop culture history. The whispers began almost immediately after he vanished, leaving behind a legacy shrouded in secrets and unanswered questions. Playwright Albert Innamorato captured the enigma of Elvis perfectly when he wrote, "If the whispers are true that Andreas Van Kuijk created a new identity after he killed a woman and immediately escaped the continent, it's possible he wanted nothing more to do with women. He was a mystery to begin with, a riddle to end with." This was Elvis, always a figure of intrigue, always more than meets the eye. The legend of Elvis was not just built on music, it was crafted by a master showman named Colonel Tom Parker. Parker was more than just a manager, he was Elvis's gatekeeper, his confidant, and his most loyal exploiter. Red West, a close friend of Elvis, once remarked, "He was as much of a married man as he was a real colonel, if you get my drift." This statement hinted at Parker's influence over Elvis's personal life and career, a dynamic that left many questioning the true cost of fame. Johnny Ray, another star of the era, shared his perspective on the dark side of this fame. "People are amazed at Elvis not knowing what his manager was doing to him," Ray said. "But we got taken by greedy liars who fed off us. It was an industry secret, the managers often held the reins, pulling strings that led to the golden cage of stardom. Elvis was no exception." Hugh Martin, a songwriter who worked with Elvis, described the machinery behind the magic. "A singer performs. Everything before and after the singing is organized by someone else." This was the unspoken truth of the music industry. The glamour was just the tip of the iceberg. Behind the scenes, a complex web of people were pulling the ropes, and Elvis was at the center, often unaware of the full extent of their control. The Colonel, as he was affectionately or not known, revolutionized the way artists were marketed. Songwriter Hugh Martin recalled how Parker turned Elvis into a brand, creating products like the Cry Kerchief, a mere hanky with Elvis's face and song titles, which sold like crazy. Before Parker, fans could only buy photographs of their idols. Now the merchandise turned fans into consumers, turning Elvis into a product. EP biographer John Miklos Jr. noted that in 1956 alone, Elvis-related items brought in $22 million, illustrating the immense commercial power Parker wielded. But Parker's methods were not just savvy, they were sometimes ruthless. Norman Taurog, the director of the movie Elvis, described Parker as someone who could sell ice to the Eskimos, a man whose touch was golden. Jerry Perenchio, a showbiz dealmaker, added that Parker had a unique ability to understand and exploit people's insecurities, using this insight to get more out of Elvis than anyone else could. Elvis himself was not immune to the pressures of fame and Parker's relentless drive. DJ David Mancuso noted that Elvis felt the weight of his image, fearing ridicule above all else. Gary Crosby, Elvis's co-star, observed that Elvis eventually stopped caring about his appearance, becoming a shadow of his former self. This decline was not just physical, it was psychological, a result of the constant scrutiny and the burden of maintaining an image. Elvis's fear of being laughed at was palpable. Helen Reddy, a singer who knew him, said he was driven by the fear that people would mock him if they saw the real him. This fear led him to overcompensate, performing excessively in the later years of his career, until the toll of constant touring became too much to bear. Singer George Michael pointed out that Elvis's late career success was a testament to the saying that success brings its own rewards, but happiness is a separate entity. The personal costs of Elvis's fame were profound. He harbored grudges like his long-standing hatred for Frank Sinatra, who had once belittled him. This resentment affected his relationships, even leading him to play Sinatra's TV special out of spite, though he never listened to Sinatra's music afterward. Elvis's personal life was a reflection of his tumultuous public image. He was known for his restless relationships, often using temporary girlfriends to teach his regular partners a lesson in disposability. Burt Reynolds, who admired Elvis, even tried to emulate his lifestyle, only to find the violence and instability it brought. Despite his many flaws and the shadow of Parker's manipulation, Elvis's impact on music and culture remains unparalleled. Yet, as his career waned, the toll of drugs and the weight of his own expectations became evident. Songwriter Johnny Mandel noted that Elvis's passion seemed to dwindle, replaced by a growing daze. In April 1977, he was hospitalized with a host of ailments, a stark reminder that even the king could not escape the consequences of his choices. As Elvis's life drew to a close, the world watched in silence, aware that the man who had given so much was running out of steam. Priscilla Presley, his daughter, recalled the shock of seeing her father's emotions finally breaking through, a rare moment of vulnerability in a life marked by excess and control. Elvis Presley's story is one of extraordinary talent, unparalleled influence, and a life caught between the highs and lows of fame. His legacy continues to intrigue and inspire, a reminder that behind every star there is a complex, often troubled human being. As the years went by, rumors swirled around Elvis Presley like a persistent storm. Some people said he was strung out on drugs, and the reaction was fierce. One fan, EP, expressed extreme anger, saying he'd break anyone's neck who said such things about Elvis. It was clear how much people loved and protected him. A concert in Florida in 1975 left a fan, Andy Velez, feeling disappointed. Elvis spent more time talking than singing, which was not what fans came to experience. This was not like the Elvis they knew, who would usually dazzle them with his voice. It seemed Elvis was changing, and this worried his fans. People close to Elvis, like Tom Jones, who was amazed to find Elvis singing in his shower one day, noticed the changes too. Jones thought Elvis might have been trying to connect with him, but the experience left him questioning if he was losing his mind. Elvis was becoming a mystery to those who knew him best. Elvis had a curious nature, especially when it came to music. Lamar Fike, part of Elvis's team, noted this curiosity. However, Elvis's behavior became more erratic. Billy Smith, Elvis's cousin, remembered how Elvis would jump around in the bedroom, talking excitedly, whether it was to share gossip, tell a joke, or just because something amused him. It seemed like Elvis was losing his grip on reality, though he still knew how to entertain when the mood struck him. The business side of Elvis's life was just as tumultuous. Reports in 1977 suggested his father, Colonel Parker, was planning to sell Elvis's contract to pay off his gambling debts. This was a shocking turn of events. Even as Elvis tried to stay relevant, making deals and trying to make more money, his health and personal life were spiraling downward. Journalists and fans alike recounted strange and telling moments. Elton John, after seeing Elvis perform, said he looked like a corpse. Elvis's voice, once powerful and clear, had changed. Songwriter Sammy Cahn noted the decline, saying it was evident on records from that period. Elvis's performances became less vibrant, his voice thick and trembling. Behind the scenes, Elvis's relationships were fracturing. Linda Wohl, a legal executive at Paramount, spoke about how Elvis fired key members of his team in a harsh manner, which was both professionally and emotionally damaging. This decision would eventually catch up with Elvis, as the truth about his life would be revealed in a book, hurting those closest to him. Elvis's father, Vernon, and his stepfather, the Colonel, were often more concerned with their own interests than Elvis's well-being. This lack of support was a heavy burden for Elvis. An incident where Vernon canceled prepaid tickets for Elvis's friends and family, then had them fired, showed how distant and uncaring they could be. Elvis's girlfriend at the time, Linda Thompson, recalled how Elvis avoided being the bad guy, leading to a withdrawal from situations that became too complicated. The attempt to curb Elvis's drug use by Red West, a close friend, was met with resistance. Red tried to reason with Elvis, but Elvis was in deep denial about his addiction. This struggle was not just about drugs, it was about losing control of his life. The release of the book Elvis, What Happened? By the Wests, Elvis's mother and half-brother, was a devastating blow. It detailed the darker side of Elvis's life, something he felt betrayed by. The timing was cruel. The book came out the day before Elvis's death, adding to the tragedy. The book's success, selling 3 million copies, left Elvis and his team reeling, unable to escape the media attention they had long tried to avoid. In the end, even the simplest things, like going to the dentist, became sources of stress for Elvis. The combination of his health issues, personal turmoil, and the relentless demands of his career took a toll. As he faced the end, the release of the tell-all book added to his distress, highlighting the complex interplay between his public and private life. Elvis Presley's story is one of immense talent overshadowed by personal struggles. As people look back, there's often a sense of what could have been. The possibility that Elvis might have lived longer if he had starred in A Star Is Born with Barbra Streisand is a poignant thought. Such a role could have shifted his focus from exhausting tour to a less demanding, perhaps more fulfilling career path. But the chances of that happening were slim, and the reality was that Elvis's journey ended far too soon, leaving behind a legacy that continues to captivate the world. Elvis Presley's death at just 42 years old was a shock to everyone. But even after he died, people kept thinking he might still be around. This happened because Elvis was so special. He wasn't just a singer, he was like a symbol of a time when young people started to speak their minds and break free from old rules. Many people still believe Elvis is alive because they can't accept he's really gone. They remember what he did for music and how he changed the way people dressed and acted. Elvis wasn't just about the songs, he was about a whole new way of living. After Elvis died, people tried to steal his body, thinking he might wake up. This shows how much some people wanted to believe he was still out there, alive and well. But the truth is, Elvis really did pass away. His body was moved to a special garden at his home, Graceland, where fans can visit. Elvis's life and death made a big impact. Some say he created a whole new lifestyle that mixed music, fashion, and attitudes. He was a big part of making it okay for people to express themselves freely. Even though he struggled with drugs and weight later in life, many remember him as a young, exciting force. Some famous people had strong feelings about Elvis. A movie star, Natalie Wood, thought of him more as a young boy than a grown man, even after he died. Gianni Buzzacchi, who took pictures of Elvis, wished he had shown more of the charming young man behind the glitz. Liberace, another famous musician, said Elvis would have liked to break free from his flashy costumes and show his true self. Elvis's friend, Elizabeth Scott, said he was tired and just going through the motions in his later years. A psychologist noted that Elvis was battling serious health issues like high blood pressure and depression, which made his life harder. His girlfriend at the time said he was aware of his problems but struggled to change. Doctors say Elvis's health issues were serious and contributed to his early death. He had glaucoma, which can cause blindness, and this worried him. His karate instructor said Elvis was fit until he started gaining weight and didn't want to show it. Even those close to Elvis sometimes had trouble talking about his problems openly. A columnist who knew him well said the media was too kind to Elvis and didn't report on his declining health and strange behavior until after his death. Despite everything, Elvis's influence lives on. His music still sells more than any other artist's. Graceland, his home, is one of the most visited places in the country. People keep coming because Elvis represents a time of change and freedom. His death, while sad, didn't end his impact. Instead, it made him a legend, someone who will always be remembered and celebrated.